right, so this is going to be my 2024 NBA playoff power rankings, as well as my play-in predictions. I will do my official playoff predictions after the conclusion of the play-in, but I wanted to get my play-in predictions out of the way here as well. So we're going to start off here with is there any sort of injuries that the playoff teams have, even if they're obvious ones that we've known about for a while? The Knicks are without Julius Randle. Giannis is questionable for the first round of the playoffs, at least for the first couple games of that. Dean Wade's questionable at all for any point of the playoffs for the Cavs. Benedict Mathurin's out for the Pacers. Robert Covington is doubtful to return at any point this postseason. Josh Richardson is out for the season for the Heat. The Bulls are going to be without Zach LaVine, Patrick Williams, and Lonzo Ball. The Hawks are without Sadiq Bey, and Jalen Johnson's out for 3 weeks. So maybe if they potentially could make it into the playoffs and into the second round, he could come back, but that's unlikely that they make it that far. Kawhi Leonard's questionable to start round one. Damian Lee's questionable to start round one. Christian Wood, Jared Vanderbilt are questionable to start round one, and then the Kings are without Malik Monk for 2 to 4 weeks. So maybe if they make it to the second round of the playoffs, then maybe he could come back. But again, that's pretty unlikely. And then Kevin Huerter will be out for the whole season for the Kings. So getting started here at number 20, we got the Atlanta Hawks, who are 36-46 and are the 10 seed, in the Eastern Conference. And I didn't mention that, but this is these power rankings are not necessarily based off of how they've been doing the last couple of weeks in the regular season, how like my normal power rankings work. This is basically how confident I am in this team really, competing or making it far in the postseason. But yeah, the Hawks are going to come in dead last out of these playoff/playing teams here. Number 19 is going to be the Bulls at 39-43. They're the 9th seed in the East. I don't expect them or Atlanta, to even really make it into the play-in, but I guess it's kind of possible. But I would not expect them to make any sort of noise up against the Boston Celtics in round one. Number 18 is going to be the Sacramento Kings, who are the 9 seed. They were like a 5 seed, I believe, a 5 or 6 seed only a couple of weeks ago. Then once they lost Malik Monk and Kevin Huerter, they've plummeted all the way down to the 9 seed. And without those guys for the playoffs, or at least for the first part of it, I don't really expect them to make it, too far out of there. So they're going to come all the way down here as my bottom team in the Western Conference. Number 17 is going to be the New Orleans Pelicans, who are 49-33. They're the 7 seed. They've actually been playing pretty well over the last few weeks. And they, ended up as a 7 seed, so it's not bad. But I do not really feel very confident here in the New Orleans Pelicans to make any sort of noise in the playoffs. I feel like they're kind of inexperienced when it comes to playoff games. And, going up against the Lakers in the play-in, and even if they lose that, they got to probably play the Warriors or the Kings, who are more experienced. And if they somehow beat the Lakers, they're going to have to play the Denver Nuggets in round one. So it's not really feeling like they're going to make a whole lot of noise here in the playoffs. Number 16 is going to be the Golden State Warriors, who are 46-36 and are the 10th seed in the West. But I got them ahead of 2 other Western Conference teams, mostly because of all their experience. And I don't really want to doubt the ability of Stephen Curry in the playoffs, because that just doesn't seem like a very smart thing to do. Number 15 is going to be the Orlando Magic, who are 47-35 and are the 5 seed in the Eastern Conference. So, like I said earlier with like the Pelicans, the Magic are doing pretty good. They're the 5th seed, so they're better than 5 other teams in the conference. I have them ranked below 3 other teams in the conference, being the Indiana Pacers, 76ers, and Miami Heat. The Sixers and Heat, I feel like have too much star power and too much experience. So I feel like I'm more confident in them than the Orlando Magic. The Indiana Pacers one was kind of a toss-up, but I feel like that one's pretty close. Number 14 is actually going to be the Miami Heat, who are 46-36 and the 8th seed in the East. I don't have as much confidence as this Heat team as last year's, but still would not be too surprised if they ended up, making some noise here in the playoffs. But they got to play Philly in the first playing game, and whoever loses that game, if they were to make it in, would have to play Boston in round one. So I don't know how well that's going to work out, but I would not put it past a team like this Miami Heat team to, somehow pull off that round one upset versus Boston if that was the matchup we got. Number 13 is going to be the Indiana Pacers, who are 47-35. They're the 6th seed. they've been playing pretty good for the majority of the season. They definitely have cooled off a little bit. I believe the last couple of weeks, along with last couple of months, honestly, along with Tyrese Halliburton. But they just put up like 155 points or something like that in their last game of the regular season. It definitely helps build a little bit of confidence going towards the postseason. Number 12 is going to be the Los Angeles Lakers, who are 47 and 35. They're only the 8th seed in the conference, but I have more confidence in them than a couple other teams in the West, mostly because of their, you know, playoff experience and having LeBron James and what they accomplished, just last season. And I definitely have more confidence in the Lakers than, quite a bit of the Eastern Conference teams, again, because of their experience and LeBron James, and because of what they, accomplished last season. And they've been one of the hottest teams, I believe, over the last 3 or so weeks. Number 11 is going to be the Philadelphia 76ers, who are 47 and 35 and are the 7th seed. Um, if this team did not lose Joel Embiid to injury, they very easily would probably be the number 2 seed right now. They missed him for, I don't know exactly how many games, but I'm trying to look it up right here. So he's missed, 43 games. So if he would have played even like 60 to 70 games, they likely would be at least 3 games better than they are right now, which would put him all the way at number 2. So I definitely feel pretty confident in the 76ers as compared to some of those other teams in the East. But still, historically, the Sixers have not ever really accomplished too much. So I can't really put them much higher than number 11 right here. Number 10 is going to be the Phoenix Suns, who are 49 and 33. They're the 6th seed in the West. But they obviously have the star power with Devin Booker, Kevin Durant, Bradley Beal. Got some playoff history with Kevin Durant and Devin Booker. Bradley Beal, not so much, but he has a little bit of playoff experience. And the Suns team, it was a few years ago with a pretty different roster, but I believe it's the same coach and the same star of Devin Booker made it to the finals. So we want to kind of have a little bit of confidence in them to do something, but I haven't seen too much out of their bench pieces this season. Like they're not a very deep team, and we kind of all knew that coming into the season, but that is going to be a little bit concerning going into the postseason. Number 9 is going to be the Cleveland Cavaliers, who are 48 and 34. They're the 4th seed in the East. If this team is healthy, I feel like they're one of the better defensive teams in the league. They got a solid offense. I like them a lot in their Eastern Conference. At least the first round against the Orlando Magic, I feel like that's a pretty good draw for them. But again, if they were to win that series, they got to go up against Boston, which I think they match up decently well with Boston, but I don't really know how well that's going to work out. So I'm not really feeling um, super confident in Cleveland to make a title run, but I would not be surprised if they made a little bit of noise here in the playoff to come in here at number 9. Number 8 is going to be the New York Knicks, who are 50 and 32. They're the 2 seed in the East, but I do not have the second most faith out of them over any Eastern Conference team, and I feel like that's you know, pretty well warranted. They do not have a lot of playoff experience. This exact team, kind of, for the most part, ish, that made the postseason last year and beat the Cleveland Cavaliers, I believe, in 4 games. So they have a little bit of playoff experience under the belt there. Um, but as far as the title run goes, I'm not really very confident in them making a lot of noise towards that. If they had Julius Randle on the roster, he's injured, so that would probably make him a lot higher on this list. But right now, I have confidence that they can do something in round 1 and potentially round 2, or at least make some noise in round 2. But I would not pick them to really make a whole lot of deep playoff run here. Number 7 is going to be the Dallas Mavericks, who are 50 and 32 and are the 5th seed in the Western Conference. You got Luka Doncic, Kyrie Irving. You got an insane offense. PJ Washington and Daniel Gafford have been amazing for your team since you traded for them. And you got yourself up to 50 wins right now. Jason Kidd seems like a pretty solid coach for you guys. Playoff experience is there. Luka is a different type of breed when it comes to the playoffs. Um, and their road to the playoffs is, easier than some other teams here in the West. They got to play the Clippers round 1, which is obviously tough. Kawhi Leonard may or may not be completely healthy, and he might miss a couple games in that series, which would obviously benefit them a lot. And then looking at round 2, they got to play probably Oklahoma City Thunder, which I feel like the Mavericks, could win that series potentially. So not too worried about this Dallas Mavericks team, and I got quite a bit of faith that they can make a deep run here in the playoffs. Number 6 is going to be the Milwaukee Bucks, who are 49 and 33, are the 3 seed in the East. The only thing that scares me about this Milwaukee Bucks team, they obviously have their history of making the playoffs. They got plenty of playoff experience. They've won a title before. Damian Lillard's on this team. He has plenty of playoff experience, and he is usually a different breed when it comes to the playoffs. He's had a bit of a down year this season, but I would expect playoff Dame to continue to be playoff Dame, which could be very, very scary for these other, Eastern Conference teams. The only thing I am concerned about is that this Bucks team has a losing record, I believe, since Doc Rivers took over, and Doc Rivers does not have a very successful track record in the NBA playoffs. So that's very, very concerning. Still don't completely understand the point of even hiring him in the first place because it seems like they've only gotten worse and worse ever since hiring him, and he does not give you guys any more playoff hope than you would have had with the previous coach. Number 5 is going to be the Los Angeles Clippers, who are 51 and 31, currently the 4th seed in the West. They're doing really good as of late. They got plenty of star power with Kawhi, PG, Harden, even Westbrook there. Plenty of guys that I expect to be really good in the playoffs as long as they can be healthy. I really hope Kawhi Leonard can play a full series in this playoffs because they've had a fairly healthy season, at least out of their star players with Kawhi and Paul George. But they still have yet to really have a full playoff series with both those guys playing every game. So I really hope we get to see that this year. I hope Kawhi is healthy. He has about a week to get healthy. I think they play on Saturday or Sunday, so he'll have plenty of time to be able to get healthy for game one. But if he has to miss much more than one game, I would not be very excited about that as a Clippers fan. Number 4, going to be the Oklahoma City Thunder. I know they're the 1 seed in the West, but they kind of worry me a little bit. They have basically zero playoff experience. I think they had a playing game last year or something, but they didn't go anywhere with it. I'm not sure how many players on this team have even been to the playoffs because most of them have been on the Thunder for the majority of their career. I think Gordon Hayward has playoff experience, but as far as your stars, Shea, Giddey, Dort, Jalen Williams, Chet Holmgren, Cason Wallace, like Isaiah Joe, basically none of those guys have any playoff experience. They made the playoffs a few years ago with Chris Paul on their team, so maybe some of them got a little bit of experience from there, but I'm not completely sure. And they're like I said, the core of their team basically has zero playoff experience. I'm not sure if Mark Daigneault has any coaching playoff experience. I don't really know what his coaching history is, but that's really concerning, especially considering they might have to play a team like the Lakers or Warriors in round one, who are going to have bunch of playoff potential or playoff experience and stuff. So that's definitely concerning. Number 3 is going to be the Minnesota Timberwolves, who are 56 and 26. They're the 3 seed in the West. They got some playoff experience. They were in the playoffs last year. They were the playoffs the year before that, most of this team, I believe. So they got some experience. They haven't really done much. I don't think they've won a playoff series, but they definitely have some games under their belt at least, which is good. They're the best defensive team in the entire league, which is really good. We saw them in the playoffs last year, but I believe Karl Anthony Towns wasn't playing at all, but they should be all healthy for this time around. And they got the 3 seed playing against, I believe, the Phoenix Suns in round one, which should be a fun matchup of offense versus defense. Mostly, you got the best defense in the Timberwolves. I'm not really sure where the Suns rank offensively, but I just feel like it's not, that I feel like they got to be pretty high up there, especially in the playoffs when you got those monsters coming up of Devin Booker and Kevin Durant in the playoffs. But should be a fun matchup there, and I do believe in the Timberwolves to have the potential to go all the way because they can lean on their defense, and Anthony Edwards, just an absolute beast. Number 2 is going to be the Denver Nuggets, who are 57 and 25, the 2 seed in the West. I kind of wanted to put them at number 1 just because they won last year and stuff, but I wanted to respect who I do have at number 1. But they're definitely the favorite for me in the Western Conference. They obviously have the experience, basically the exact same roster as last season that did win the um, championship. They're only missing Bruce Brown, I think, is the real piece that they're only missing from last season, and they have some internal development since then, so that's good. And I very much trust Nikola Jokic and Jamal Murray to be absolute dogs in the playoff run. It would not be surprised to see them repeat. Number 1 here it's going to be the Boston Celtics, who are 64-18. They're the number one seed in the Eastern Conference, and the number one team in the entire NBA. Have been the number one in my power rankings for a long time in a row, I believe. And they're definitely should be the favorites to win the entire thing. They got plenty of amazing guys on their team. Jason Tatum's a dog in the playoffs. Jaylen Brown's a dog in the playoffs sometimes. Sometimes he can't go left, which is kind of a problem, but I feel like Jaylen Brown can be good at times. Jrue Holiday is usually very bad offensively in the playoffs, but they don't really need him to be anything offensively. All he has to do is, play that role he played for Milwaukee when they won the title, and, they should be good. Al Horford's usually pretty good in the playoffs. Derek White, I would expect to be an absolute menace in the playoffs as well. So they got plenty of playoff experience and stuff, and I would not be surprised to see them go all the way. Obviously, they've looked like the best team all season long and are, I believe, currently the title favorite. Um, so now we're going to go to my play-in predictions here. So for the first play-in matchup in the Western Conference, we got the Pelicans and Lakers. So this is going to be for the seventh seed in the Western Conference. The Pelicans and Lakers should be a fun game. They did just play yesterday, so Lakers won that one pretty easily. But then again, it's a whole different type of game once you get that play-in atmosphere and stuff, because that's like legit playoff atmosphere. And anyone's gonna go off and win. So I don't want to take everything into account from just that last game yesterday, but it is kind of important going into today's or tomorrow's matchup. And the Lakers have plenty of playoff experience, a lot more than the New Orleans Pelicans. And I would expect the Lakers to be able to go out and get this win. I would expect LeBron James to go out and play really, really well. And Anthony Davis as well to go carry them to this win so they can go then get some extra rest. Whereas if they were to lose this game, they got to play another game to get into real playoffs. So I would expect them to win tomorrow. Get a little bit of rest going into the first round matchup, which would be Western Conference Final rematch against the Denver Nuggets. Then we got the Kings and Warriors for the 9 and 10 seed. Be playing for the 8 seed, I guess. They would play the New Orleans Pelicans in my prediction to be the 8 seed. Out of the Kings and Warriors, I think the Kings have been, they've definitely been fumbling since they got the injuries to Malik Monk and Kevin Huerter. And the Warriors have actually been one of the hottest teams out of late. And, I would very much expect the Warriors to have a pretty good showing in a do-or-die game. I would expect them to go out and be able to get this win versus the Sacramento Kings, which will be a very disappointing end to the Kings season, basically all started by the injuries to both Monk and Huerter. Because with them guys in the lineup, they're probably not even playing a play-in game. They're probably a confident six seed or higher. So it's kind of sad to see them go out this way, but I'm definitely, would not be surprised to see them fall out in this first play-in game. Then you got the Pelicans versus the Warriors for the 8th seed in the West Conference for the one last playoff spot. It would be a home game for the Pelicans, but I'm still kind of leaning the Warriors here for the same reason why I lean the Lakers over the Pelicans. They got plenty more playoff experience. And Steph Curry should be a different type of breed in the playoffs. So this is like, a do or die game for him. And I would very much expect the Warriors to come out of this one on top, which definitely makes some more interesting matchups in the West. You'd have the Thunder versus the Warriors, and then the Nuggets versus the Lakers. Whereas, if like the Pelicans and Kings made the playoffs, it'd be like the Nuggets and Pelicans, and then the Thunder and Kings, which would be very less enjoyable than be able to see LeBron James and Stephen Curry in a 7-game series. So it's definitely better to have the Lakers and Warriors in there for the fans. Going into the Eastern Conference play-in predictions. Get the Sixers and Heat here playing for the 7 seed. So I think this could very well go either way. Joel Embiid should be really, really good in the playoffs. I would expect him to dominate. I don't think Bam Adebayo can really contain Joel Embiid. He can do his best, but you can only contain Joel Embiid so much. Also, looking at last season, the Miami Heat, were in this 7-8 playing game and ended up losing to the Chicago Bulls, I believe, before they ended up winning their second playing game to be the number 8 seed. And that's kind of what I'm going to expect to see here. I'm going to have Philadelphia winning that game to be able to be the 7 seed, playing against the 2 seeded New York Knicks, which should be a very, very fun game there. Um, I don't know who's going to, that's going to be a very entertaining matchup there. But the 6 seed game, I think it's really going to be decided by Joel Embiid. Tyrese Maxey, is going to be guarded by Jimmy Butler probably, so he might struggle a little bit, but I think Joel Embiid will feast in this game. He very well could have a very good shooting night and be able to win this game, but I'm going to lean Sixers here, but they very easily could go either way. And with this Bulls and Hawks game, um, I think this could easily go either way. I'm really torn on what to pick here. If the Bulls are at full strength, obviously I'd have them winning here. But the Hawks have been, also been playing pretty bad recently, so I kind of still want to lean the Bulls. But you got a game of, Trae Young in the playoffs has usually been really good. DeMar DeRozan in the playoffs is usually, at least, I mean, recently he's been pretty good in the playoffs. Originally in Toronto, he was pretty bad in the playoffs. He was good in San Antonio, and I think he was good last season as well. So this Bulls Hawks game should be very entertaining. But I don't think either of these teams are really going to do a whole lot going forward. But in this one game, I think it's going to come down to 3-point shooting. I think the Hawks, are the better 3-point shooting team, but kind of are inconsistent at times. So I am going to lean the Chicago Bulls. So we got the Heat versus the Bulls in this game. So um, I think this is going to be pretty easy here. I think the Bulls will be outmatched just from start to finish in this game. I don't expect the Heat to not make the playoffs coming out of this playing game. They did the same thing last year and made the Eastern Conference Finals. I would very much expect them to be able to beat the Chicago Bulls. That doesn't seem like too much of a challenge for them, honestly. So I am going to pick the Miami Heat here, which gives us an Eastern Conference Finals rematch in round one of Boston and Miami. So with my predictions, we have a rematch of both the Western and Eastern Conference Finals in round one. That's going to be an interesting storyline, but that is going to be the predictions. Now, I am going to go into my power rankings for the end of the season as if this was just a regular power ranking video. So not my playoff power ranking. This is just every team based off my previous power ranking criteria. But I'm just going to go through it quickly. You got the Pistons at 30, Wizards at 29, Blazers at 28, Raptors at 27, Hornets at 26, Grizzlies at 25, Jazz at 24, Nets at 23, Spurs at 22, Hawks at 21, Rockets at 20, Bulls at 19, Kings at 18, Heat at 17, Pacers at 16, Cavs at 15, Bucks at 14, Warriors at 13, Magic at 12, Sixers at 11, Knicks at 10, Pelicans at 9, Lakers at 8, Mavs at 7, Clippers at 6, Timberwolves at 5, Suns at 4, Nuggets at 3, Thunder at 2, and the Celtics at 1. So that is going to be the end of the video. Thank you for watching. Make sure to check back for my other NBA videos that are going to come out this week, and make sure to check out my UFL videos as well.